Welcome to Makoko, a vibrant community on the edge of the Lagos Lagoon. Here, amidst the labyrinth of stilt houses, an old-age struggle takes place. According to the Nigerian government, 175 million people across the country lack access to clean cooking. Fish smoking is an important source of income in Makoko, and residents rely heavily on firewood and charcoal as their primary sources of fuel. But this seemingly innocent tradition comes at a significant cost, one that affects not only the health and well-being of the people, but also the very lifeblood of Nigeria's forests.
Smoke used to affect us is when maybe we want to sleep now, we can't sleep. We will be peppering our eyes. And after that one again, all our clothes will be smelling for like a fish. Sometimes we will just be sick, and the smoke causes a lot in our body. If they can say another thing, apart firewood to do the fish, smoke will be able to come outside anymore again.
The acrid smoke in Makoko lingers in the air, its toxic tendrils seeping into the lungs of both young and old, exacerbating existing health conditions, including respiratory illnesses and cancer.
Igi yẹn láti gba kékeré láti wá báyìí yẹn kì í ṣe pé àwa la fi ṣe kíní fún igi. Gbà tá lajú nǹkan táwọn ọmọ mi wá fi yún ẹja òun nìyẹn.
This is the sawmill in the community where the firewood is sourced. As the demand for fuel increases, the trees of precious woodlands are felled relentlessly, their timber transforming into cooking fuel, leaving behind barren patches of land and shrinking habitats for countless species. The delicate balance of nature is disrupted, and the very resilience of Nigeria's forests hangs in the balance. Dr. Obianuju Oza is a pulmonologist and senior lecturer at the University of Lagos, who has studied the exposure of Nigerian households to unclean cooking fuels.
Indeed, about 90% of households in Nigeria are exposed to unclean cooking fuel from kerosene, charcoal, and firewood. Therefore, it's a very important question to understand why this is so. And in my opinion, I think the fundamental factor is poverty, and this is in two prongs. One is poverty in terms of access to cash, and the other is poverty in terms of knowledge.
Energy is the dominant contributor to climate change, accounting for about 60% of global greenhouse gas emissions. According to the UN Food and Agriculture Organization, every year, approximately 4 million hectares of forests across Africa are cut down, and the rate of deforestation on the continent is double the average rate across the world. Furthermore, an estimated 90% of wood is removed from African forests and woodlands for fuel purposes, and 29% of that wood converted into charcoal, according to the African Union Development Agency. This depletion diminishes biodiversity and intensifies the effects of climate change, worsening the country's environmental challenges.
Igi yẹn tá bá ti ń lo igi fi yún ẹja, ó máa ń bara jẹ́ ẹni tó ń yún ẹja. Tó bá ti ń bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ń dàgbà, àwọn àìsàn máa ṣe, ó dẹ̀ máa disturb ojú ẹ̀. Bí ìyá kan, ẹja lòun náà máa yàn níjọ́ Saturday tó kọjá, ẹja yẹn ló ṣáà máa yàn, ó yún ẹja níjọ́ Saturday, ó kàn sọ pé ojú òun wọ́n ṣe máa gbé dé hospital báyìí. Ìyá yẹn wọ́n ṣe títí ó kàn dákú ni. So èéfín yẹn máa ń bà nǹkan jẹ́ lára wa gan. Kì í ṣe pé téèyàn bá ti jẹja yẹn ó máa ṣe nǹkan lára wọn, bọ̀ àwa tá à ń yan ó máa ń bà nǹkan jẹ́ lára wa. Tá bá ti rí ọ̀nà míì tá lè máa fi nǹkan míì fi yún ẹja tí ò ní jẹ́ firewood, a máa lò.
Recognizing the urgency, Nigeria is starting to embrace clean energy solutions to address this problem. An important project is the Nigeria Energy Transition Plan. As the country targets net zero carbon emissions by 2060, a key objective is to bring modern energy services to the population. Action steps include replacing firewood, kerosene, and charcoal with 2 million liquefied petroleum gas stoves a year, and post-2030 transitioning to 1.7 million new electric or biogas stoves annually. But there is still a long way to go in introducing electric and biogas stoves to households in Nigeria. In 2018, Dr. Ozo published a study that she and a team of researchers carried out in Mushin, Lagos on the use of clean cooking fuels. And she found that electric stoves were used by just 1% of households in the area.
In our study in Mushin, we surveyed over 500 households, and we found that most households used unclean cooking fuels. As a matter of fact, only about 12% of the households used LPG, which is considered a cleaner fuel. And most households, 70% used kerosene, about 40% used charcoal, and electricity, which is the most common, which is the cleanest fuel, was used by just about 1% of the population. The implication is that most people use unclean cooking fuel exposed to household air pollution, therefore they are at risk of adverse health impacts. These health impacts include increase in cardiovascular risk factors, increase in respiratory risk factors such as asthma, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, hypertension, poor lung growth, as well as pneumonia in children. In our study, we also found that the reason why most people were not using clean cooking fuel, LPG in this case, was because of misconceptions. They thought that it was more expensive. When we actually compared prices, we found that those who used charcoal, kerosene spent more money compared to those who used LPG. Also important is that because of the misconceptions about safety of LPG and risk of fire, many landlords in these low-income areas actually prevent their tenants from using LPG, which is a very important problem.
In April 2023, the Nigerian Sovereign Investment Authority and multinational energy and commodity trading company Vitol launched Carbon Vista, a joint venture agreement investing in carbon avoidance and removal projects. With an initial commitment of $50 million US, private clean energy companies are hoping to benefit from this. One company is Power Stove Energy, who produce biomass pellets and clean cooking stoves.
Power Stove Energy is a company that designs, manufactures, and distributes efficient cook stoves that cooks 5 times faster than traditional stoves, and also allow the users to have access to free electricity to charge their mobile phones, power their LED appliances, and also have electricity in their households. Towards the tail end of the last government, they launched what they call Carbon Vista. We are still looking at how this policy would translate with the private sector, who are going to drive the implementation.
Biomass offers environmental benefits, but criticisms include potential deforestation, carbon emissions, competition with food production, and soil degradation. Sustainable practices are essential for addressing these concerns and maximizing the positive impact of biomass as an energy solution.
We designed Power Stove intentionally to not accept firewood or charcoal. It uses what we call wood pellet. Wood pellet or bio pellet, which we produce, and will have the largest capacity in Nigeria, is produced from rice husk, corn cob, post-harvest crop waste, and also wood waste. Our stove is engineered with what we call a proprietary airflow system. So the airflow system ensures that the right oxygen meets the right biomass to produce a smokeless flame.
Solar power is also emerging as a viable solution, and this renewable energy source is slowly being embraced across Nigeria. Solar Sister is a social enterprise empowering women in rural Africa through clean energy solutions.
The clean energy products that we do distribute in the communities help stop the felling of trees, especially the illegal felling of trees. And what happens is when communities and households switch to clean energy, they're able to reduce the amount of wood products that they are using, especially for cooking and other things in the household. So the products that we distribute really go a long way in helping stopping deforestation in Nigeria. You'll find that energy poverty disproportionately affects women because it is women in these communities that are in charge of cooking food, in charge of energy and managing energy in the household. So our solution is one which flips it over the head, where women are not just victims of energy poverty, but they are actually solution providers.
The path to a greener future lies in collective action and widespread adoption of clean energy solutions. By transitioning to solar power, biofuels, and other sustainable alternatives, Nigeria can protect its forests, preserve biodiversity, and mitigate climate change. This shift not only protects the environment and the wildlife that lived there, but also promotes healthier communities. Laila Johnson-Salami, Arise News.